Scruffy Audio Network.
All right, you ready? Okay.
Yeah.
We are getting started.
Yeah, we are.
So glad to have Ben back.
Yeah, so
Not
good.
that there was anything wrong with Matt, but
There was a lot wrong with Matt.
man, you're such a hater. He's going to listen to this. And he's going to.
First of all, he's not going to listen to this.
You don't think the Scruffy Audio guys and the RLation guys listen to every single podcast they?
Matt, you're an idiot. Let me know if you listen to this, and then we'll talk. How's that?
Hey,
We'll see.
welcome to Why Would You Go There, podcast about travel. I am Troy, and you are?
I'm Lee.
Lee. And Lee, why don't you start by telling folks where they can reach us?
Okay, we are on Facebook and Instagram at Why Would You Go There? So give us a look-see there. And on Twitter at Why Would You Go? So we
look-see.
try to, yes, a look-see.
There's no way that people are going to believe that you're under 70. You have an in-summary and a look-see.
Yeah. So give us check us out on those.
Hey, guess
forums.
what else we have?
What?
As of today, we have a TripAdvisor, our favorite place. We have a TripAdvisor account, which has 0 followers. So you can follow us on TripAdvisor. And I've actually marked
really
0
cool.
locations.
Nice.
As of yet. All I did was make the account. So it's Why Would You Go There?
You're all over
Or
it.
it's at WWYGT. Boy, I had to think about that one.
Yeah, it's rough.
Yes, yeah, it is. So that's
It's good to have you
place.
back, though.
Oh, man, thanks.
You've been gone for a few days. I missed you. I haven't
I was
seen
gone
you
for
in like a week.
Yeah, I was gone for a week. I just got back from vacation. We did a little. We went and saw some grandkids and kids and all that kind of stuff. I know people listening to this are thinking, "How can this guy have grandkids? He's so virile and young sounding." Yeah. But I do, in fact. I started when I was 12, and that's how you get grandkids by the time you're 36.
Yes, that is exactly right. Now they're going to see your pictures and be like, "What this guy?"
Oh, man. I hope they don't see that picture of me with sunscreen all over myself on the beach.
I should totally post that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to,
I forbid
actually.
Chiquita from posting. I said, please don't post that. I look like an idiot. But I really did look like an idiot. I had that sunscreen. I was ghost white.
Yeah. You're in your home state, your home area.
Yeah. Tennessee is really my home state now.
Yeah.
It is.
You're grown up.
Yeah.
You're growing up.
Yeah.
State now.
Exactly. The state of my youth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was like 75 years ago, right?
Yeah. Of course. So why don't I tell people what we're talking about today? We're not just talking about my vacation. We're actually talking about a city.
Yeah, we are.
A city that you visited recently.
Yeah.
And that I really want to visit, but it's not going to happen this year, I can tell you.
Yeah.
Because it's a long ways away.
All right.
Where are we talking about?
We were talking about
Seoul. Oh, man. It
Seoul,
sounds
South
so
Korea.
good.
Yeah.
Seoul, South Korea.
Yeah. Hits you in the soul, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
Get
That's
it?
not
You get it?
Yes, people get it.
Okay,
and
sorry.
Unfortunately, they get it. Because again, I'm the one that is old, but you're the one that acts old.
I totally do. And I'll embrace it and own it.
Oh, okay. So, interesting thing about Seoul is I always think of it as being very cold. I think of it being like northern China. It's not. It's a lot further south. When I looked it up on the map, I did, of course, a little bit of research for this since I haven't been there. I'm going to have to contribute something besides my charm and jokes. And it's about the same latitude as Pennsylvania, New Jersey area.
Yeah.
About the same latitude, and also the same latitude as Portugal.
Oh, cool.
And so people all around the world, because we have listeners everywhere in the world.
Yeah, we do.
I want people in Europe to know about what latitude it is, and then people in the States. Shockingly, it's the same latitude as a lot of Japan, because I always think of Japan as being a lot further north.
Yeah.
The climate's going to be similar to the New Jersey, Pennsylvania area.
So I'll tell you, we went in April, and I went to a few other places. I went to Taipei, Taiwan, which we'll probably talk about at some point.
Sure.
I went to the Maldives and went to Singapore, which we did talk about. So go back and listen to that podcast.
Yeah, last podcast.
All those other places were hot. They were in the 80s and sometimes even 90. And South Korea, Seoul, I actually had a long sleeve shirt one day. So
wow.
it was, it was probably Like the lows were in about the 50s, somewhere 45, 50, and then the highs, the highest day was probably about 80. So yeah, but it was nice weather, but it was
pretty good weather.
but yeah, it was usually around like 70 for the few days we were there, give or take.
That sounds like great weather, actually.
It was really nice, really nice. Yeah.
So I don't think we're going to talk much about getting around, or are you?
I'll talk about it a little bit.
Okay,
actually.
good.
So I want to start it off by saying the airport. We talked about the Singapore airport and talked about how incredible it was. Well, apparently it's something about those Asian cities over there, because the Incheon airport is really nice also, the South Korea, the Seoul airport. It's not as nice as Singapore's airport, but I don't think anywhere is even close to as nice.
Sure.
But it's one of the nicer airports I've been in also. So it was really weird because they had a robot that was just kind of not walking, because it wasn't walking. It was on wheels. But it
rolling.
Would, yeah, it would roll up to
Yeah.
you. And it would say, hey, how can I help you? Or ask me a question. It had it written on there. And I saw people
interacting with the robot.
And one of them
did the robot
said,
actually do anything?
Yes, the robot said to one person, "Follow me. I'll take you there." So,
wow.
Yeah. So I guess they asked. I came up kind of on the back end of that conversation with the robot, but I guess they're like, "How do I get to this place?" or "Where is this gate?"
Did
or
you see
whatever.
more than one robot? Or do you think there are more than one?
I think there are more than one. We saw a couple, but they could have been the same one and just in the same general vicinity.
Okay.
But that was kind of cool. So yeah, I mean, literally, it looked like it had eyes and everything. It was like walking up to you. So yeah, so cool. But I will tell you, after we left the airport, we took the express shuttle train, and it was very cheap. A lot of times when you have to go to a city from, places we've been like Rome or Paris, it's
Right.
not going to be cheap to
So
get
give me a
from the
reference
airport.
of how cheap it was.
It was probably around $10 or less per person. So yeah, and you had to go about 45 minutes.
That's pretty
by
good.
a pretty fast train too. So it's it not like super fast, not like a bullet train, but it was.
Yeah, so
it was a good ways away.
Paris to London is about $80.
Yeah,
So-
I remember like Rome, the airport to downtown Rome is like 50 or 60 if I remember correctly.
Okay.
So yeah, so that gives you an idea, and that's per person, of course. But this was a little less than
That
10.
does give you an idea. So less than 10 is it's a steal.
Yeah, and it takes you to like their main station. It's called the Seoul Station, and it's exactly what a train station is. I mean, it's got different places to eat, some shopping and stuff. I mean, it's a pretty cool place, and it's right there in the middle, of course, where you'd expect it to be in the city.
And I'm assuming nice, because when I think of having never been to an Asian country, when I think of Asian airports and train stations, I always think clean.
Yes.
Am I wrong?
Yeah, it was very nice. Everyone there was very nice. It was, I'll probably got to get in this a little bit later, but it was probably the nicest people overall, like most accommodating, helping people of any country I've been to.
Really?
Yeah. And
So you're saying the South Koreans are nice?
they were very nice. Yeah. They were incredibly helpful. Well, I guess I'll tell the story now since we're kind of getting into it.
But let me ask you this one thing first. Was there a problem with the language? Most of them speak English?
Most spoke English, yes. And, everywhere you go, there's going to be people that speak English, just like there's going to be people that don't speak English. But it felt like most spoke English pretty well.
Oh, that's good.
And a few of the people that we spoke to, studied in the States. So, yes, obviously they have
Very good English.
Yes, yeah. But one person we were trying to find a palace. There's a lot of palaces there. We were trying to find a palace, and she saw us with our map open and just kind of looking around, trying to figure out where in the heck we were.
Right.
And she walked up and she said, "Excuse me, where are you trying to go?" And we told her, and she was just like, "Okay, well, I was getting ready to go for a walk. Do you want me to take you there? And I'll take you there." And we're like, "Yeah, awesome. This is great." And so then she said, "Do you want us do you want to go on a scenic tour? Like a, just like a tour outside.
Yeah.
I could take you directly there, or I could take you on a scenic tour. Because again, I'm kind of out to get exercise, and we're like, take us on a scenic tour. So
you loved that, didn't you?
It was great. Yeah, I mean, she was like,
did you ask her a bunch of
guide.
questions?
Yes,
because I know you like to ask questions.
Yeah,
too,
and she was incredibly smart. She actually she was one of the people that we talked about. She studied at Boston University. Oh, wow. So obviously her English was incredible. And she just moved back there after she graduated, and she was so helpful, and she gave us such a great tour, and she gave us so much information, some of the stuff that we'll talk about later. We had a lot of questions kind of about North Korea and that relationship and some of that, and so she kind of told us about that. And then, of course, all about the city and what to do and what's good, what's not. And it was funny because one time we were walking right by the place we were trying to go, and she just took a left-hand turn as soon as we saw it because she was taking us a different route just to take a scenic route. So it was really cool. And again, they were all very accommodating, very nice, very helpful. Anytime we asked somebody, we never really had any issues.
Does that make you feel bad about when people downtown Knoxville ask you stuff and you just kick them? Does that make you feel bad about that?
Well, no, it doesn't. Okay. There's not much that makes me feel bad, especially when they're asking for money.
Okay. Yeah. We're not, that wasn't a homeless bashing thing. You turned into a homeless bashing thing here,
but yeah. So that again, that just shows what kind of people are there, and again, not everybody speaks English. We definitely had some times where we had a tough time, but most people, especially at like restaurants or wherever, anywhere we were trying to go, tourist places were very accommodating.
That. You say something there that makes me think about the fact that with all the travel that I've done, and I know you feel the same way, most of the time, for folks that are listening to this who don't travel outside the country or have never, I think you should do it. First of all, that's our motto. It's better to go someplace you hate than not go anyplace at all. Go someplace. Yeah. But most of the time, most of the people in most of the places are mostly nice. I mean, it's really rarely do you run into somebody who's not nice if you're nice and generally just trying to talk to people and get around.
I definitely agree with that. And I think that's a very common misconception for traveling is people think that, okay, I'm intimidated or, we're in a different country. Nobody knows how to speak English. I mean, nowadays, or maybe not even nowadays, but always, there are almost always people that can speak English. And, a lot of times that's kind of the easy way out to try to speak English instead of trying to speak their language. So I kind of feel bad for that sometimes because I kind of want to accommodate to them too. But still, they're most places and most people are generally pretty helpful, I think.
Agree with that. Yeah.
And you can almost always find somebody who is...
It's almost always the case.
Yeah, going to be able to help you. You may come across a jerk every now and then, like me.
If you come to Knoxville, they definitely will.
Yeah. Seriously, you probably get bigger jerks in the U.S. than you do in other countries.
Sure. But even here, people talk about Northerners all the time. I've never had anybody in Boston or New York that I thought gave me a hard time. If you're nice to folks, and some of it has to do with attitude. You know? I mean, I think there are a lot of people that just have a look on their face like, oh gosh, I got to ask this person something. I'm not happy about it. But I'm generally when I'm traveling, that's one of my most happy times. Yeah. So I'm out.
It's your happy place.
That is. Yeah, everywhere else in the world but home is my happy place. I hope my wife listens to this. She's going to love that.
No, I'm sure.
Anyway, so why don't you this is kind of your podcast. Why don't you go through...
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Mine. Mine only.
So, since I've never been, some of the must-sees or some of the things that you thought you were going to... people should do.
So, okay, to me, some of the must-sees are some of the palaces. There's several palaces there. As far as like palaces from the Joseon dynasty, I think there's 5 of those, and we went to 3 of those. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce any of their names, just because I'm going to insult anybody that I try to attempt to pronounce those. But it's pretty cool. I like palaces and stuff like that. To me, after you see 3, 4, 5, it kind of gets to be, I don't want to downplay them, but it kind of gets to be like temples in some other Asian countries or
Catholic
churches
and
in Europe maybe. They're all beautiful. They're all intricate. They're all ornate, all that stuff. And they all have their own qualities that make them great for what they are. But yeah, after a few, I'm like, okay, I've probably seen enough of these. So unless there's one that's a little bit different than most, which they're all different, then I don't necessarily need to see them all. But I went to one, and again, I'm not even going to try to say the name because again, it's going to be terrible. But it was kind of away from a lot of stuff, and I liked it because
you have to try.
You want me to try,
please? Because people are going to want to. You could spell it if you want.
Okay, and they all seem similar. Gyeonghyung-kung.
That sounded great. I speak no Korean, so it sounded great to me. And Ben thinks it's great also.
So I looked it up because I knew I wouldn't be able to say it, but Gyeonghuygung.
Oh, you nailed it. Yeah, I speak a little Korean. You nailed it.
Thank you. I knew it. I didn't want to brag, but yeah. But what's interesting is that one there was really nobody else around. It was kind of out away from everything else. I mean, don't get me wrong. There's still a city around it, but the other stuff, like there was more happening tourist places around. Okay. So I think it was more heavily occupied. But there was no guards there. But I liked it because it was the most quiet by far. I mean, it was literally us and two other people walking around the whole thing.
Oh, wow.
And,
like you had your own private tour.
Yeah. Yeah. And, there's not like rooms or anything. I mean, it is almost like a temple, but it is a palace. So it was cool. So I if you can understand what I said or listen back to what I spelled, I would say go there because again, it wasn't very heavily populated, and I think that's what made it the best. Not the best one.
Because you're not running into people.
One of the easiest ones to see. And for picture takers, people like me, it's great because you can get some good pictures because, again, it's not many people around.
There's no guards to stop you with those signs that say no pictures.
Yeah. Well, even if there were.
I know that.
Okay, let's try the next one. Gyeongbokgung Palace.
Oh, yeah. I'm familiar with that.
Gyeongbokgung.
I'm familiar with that one.
Gyeongbokgung. So that's the largest one, and I think it's probably the most touristy one. And it's kind of at the end, like along the river, so it's really pretty. It's pretty scenic, and you see like a lot of these places, but especially this one, you see people with their traditional garb, as you like to say, their traditional wear. Walking around, so I think that's kind of cool, and it has guards and stuff like that. So,
so the folks that are in traditional clothing, they're folks that are just visiting.
I think it's both. Okay. I think. Well, one time it looked like it might have been some kind of like wedding or something because we saw it kind of after the fact, like everybody was walking out, but there's these guys in suits and stuff, and then the ladies are in their traditional wear. I mean, it was cool, but I mean, we probably saw like 30 or 40 of them walk out. Oh, yeah. So it could have been a tour, but it just seemed like they were dressed extremely nice for it to be something like a tour.
All right.
And maybe there was something else going on there that they were hosting an event. I don't know. But I didn't see it inside. I just saw them. They were leaving when we were going in. So that was cool. I think that's one that you got to see. You'll pass through like some statues to get there. And there's a lot of there's like fountains with the statues and flowers. And then it has like a Korean museum. So that's kind of cool too. Kind of on the way to that. And then another one I want to talk about is Deoksugung. DEOK.
Oh, yeah, you butchered that one.
SUGUNG.
You were doing so well, too.
Oh, man. Yeah. So this one was one of my favorites. It had like more traditional housing. Yes, all palaces. This had more traditional like rooms and stuff. So it was not just
a big
like open air,
space,
with like Buddha stuff in it or whatever. Like a lot of the stuff is, where people worship that stuff. but this was like a housing place along with a lot of the other open air Buddha stuff. Is your chair okay?
Yeah,
over there?
it's giving some problems. Ben warned me about it.
Yeah. I hope that's the chair.
That's great. I know this microphone's picking up that clicking sound.
Clicking, sure. Way to try to save it now.
Move on.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Move on from the chair.
This was like so fitting for one of our podcasts, too.
Bunch of juveniles.
Yeah. Okay, so the thing I like about that one is it had the different type housing, but it had a changing of the guard, and the changing of the guard was really cool. It had the people in their traditional garb, and you can rent the garb, and then you can
rent these clothes.
Yes, and you can do it in a lot of places, not just outside the palaces, but a lot of places. Another place I'll talk about here in a little while, but it's really interesting because you can just rent them just to walk through, and a ton of people do it.
Like white people.
Yes, but okay. I think it's more Asians, maybe to celebrate their heritage or something like that. But yes, there are definitely white people. I
wonder if there's some connection with wearing this clothing and being in the palace. I wonder if there's some kind of traditional thing there that there's. Yes. You do that for some reason.
I bet it's some kind of respect.
Okay.
But I bet you're right.
Okay. Probably
would have been good for me to know that, right?
Well, anytime I can set you up to fail with a question, I love that. So.
But yeah, it's like a wall compound. But the coolest thing was the changing of the guard, and it changed 3 times a day. And it involves like I think there's 2 guards at the front, but they brought out like a whole slew of people. I mean, there were like 20 or 30 people doing this changing of the guard, and they're wearing different colors. There's I think there was 3 different sets, like the people that were up at the front were wearing like green. I may be a little off on my colors. And then a set of 8 or 10 soldiers would come in with like yellow, bright yellow, and then another one with like red. But it was really cool, and they kind of put on this whole little show,
sure,
more or less. And it felt a little cheesy, I guess, but it was also really cool. I mean, I hate to say it was cheesy, but it was also really cool. And I think it felt cheesy because, they had these like long spear with like a machete kind of on the end, and they just looked a little fake. And I think they're fake.
I wish you said that, and maybe one of them would have stabbed you with it.
Yeah, I'm definitely sure it was fake then.
Try to hack
Can't hit this
limbs
steel
off.
There's no way it's going to hurt this steel.
Okay, so palaces are one thing that you have to do. What else do you need to do when you're in Seoul?
Okay, so the Nam Sam Mountain, which is like their tower, Seoul Tower.
It's a Seoul Tower. Yeah. That kind of tower?
That is, yes, I think that's exactly right.
Motor City Seoul Tower?
They're very similar, very similar.
A lot of R&B getting played there?
But, yeah. But what's cool about this, everybody has their own, their tallest buildings or whatever, and this is theirs. But what's cool about it is it's up on, like, a hill. So it's already a tall building, and then they throw it up on a hill, too, and it's even taller. And you can take a cable car to it, which we did not do because the line was outrageous. And we thought, okay, we'll just walk up this kind of half mountain stairs. Oh my gosh.
Always a bad idea.
It was
always a bad idea. You've done that multiple times.
I really have. I've never learned
I'm going to just walk, and then you can't.
But we asked somebody how long it was in the line, and I can't remember what they said. I think it was like an hour and a half or 2 hours is what they thought. I mean, it was crazy backed up to get on the cable car, so we thought, forget it.
I wonder if they have some kind of fast pass that you can do for folks that are going there. I'm serious.
Probably.
I wonder if there's
I don't know.
some way to
maybe
jump the line. Pay extra money or something.
Maybe. I don't know. But it was really cool, and I've joking about the stairs because it got to be a lot. Miriam, my wife, counted them. At Travels with Miri, if you want to follow her on Twitter. But she counted them. I can't remember, and she couldn't remember. I called her before we were getting ready to do this podcast, but she thinks it was like 800 to 1,000
Oh.
steps. Yeah. And it's not
As
like
lazy as you
little
are, I
ones.
thought you were going to say like 58 steps or something like that.
That
We
would've
couldn't
been
make it up
awesome.
these 58
That
steps.
would have been awesome.
So,
But, you know, it's like straight up, too. I mean, so I'm glad we did it, and it offered some pretty cool views. And what was really neat was it was
do you have a picture
live.
of it?
Yeah, I've got
Okay,
a bunch
good.
of
Yeah,
pictures. We'll post all
wanna
kinds
see
of
that,
pictures of it. But it's got some like different flowers kind of on the way up it, not totally lined with it, but a bunch of different flowers and bushes and stuff. So it was just a very pretty view.
Okay.
Yeah, and I really liked it too because when we started it, it was daylight, and by the time we got up to the top, it was dimming, and then by the time we walked all the way back down, it was dark. So we got to see.
Was this the same day? Because it's 1,000 steps.
Yeah, it's so true.
It was dark on Tuesday by the time we
camped
came down.
halfway up. No, but yeah, it was cool because we got to see just totally different, you know, night, day, and dusk. So that was kind of fun. We got to see the sun kind of setting. So yeah. So you definitely have to do that. The tower is 777 feet tall. What's interesting about it is, like, you know, you get to these buildings, these towers, and you think it's just a tower, but they had almost like a fair kind of outside it. I mean, not really a fair, but it had different kind of stands,
some kind of market
and
and
vendors.
stuff. Yeah.
Okay. So that's kind of cool. So I think
Did they
that
have
was
like some street food and stuff you could buy? Or was it mostly
It was
products?
Yeah, it was mostly products. I don't remember street food. There's some restaurants in there that you can eat at.
Because you need a meal after you walked up those 1,000 steps.
So true.
I mean, it took you half a day.
Yeah, but it was really neat, and it offered just great views. There's a Hello Kitty museum up there at the top. I know a lot of people love that. You know, Asians love.
I don't get that.
They love it. They love it. Listen,
little kids do too. You know what I mean?
Yes, I know what you mean, but they love it. They would probably take those spear machetes that I was talking about and stab you for talking bad about them. Because they love that Hello Kitty stuff.
We invented Hello Kitty.
But it's, you know, there's a lot of stuff. And then there's different places, you know, out. I think it was Seoul, like they had a toilet restaurant where you get served food out of a toilet. You know, they have a cat music.
Why?
They have a cat restaurant where cats are all over the place.
Why?
I don't.
Both those things sound nasty. Who's doing that?
I don't disagree, but
who's doing that?
People love that stuff. People are like, oh, okay, this is a once in a lifetime thing. Yeah,
I was going to ask you about restaurants. So do you have a food section, or are we just going to go to restaurants?
I definitely do have a food section.
Okay,
but I was going to save that.
Okay, well, save it then.
Unless you really want to.
No, because I want some distance between the toilet cat story and the actual food that you ate.
Okay, yeah, I can get that. All right, so I'll talk about a couple other things. I know one thing we'll probably talk about for a little bit, so I'll save that for right before the food. But Bukchon Hanok Village, it's basically a place where people go for their traditional Korean homes. And it's kind of another place that's up on a hill, so you get pretty good views of the city. But it has the traditional.
You mean they have a lot of traditional homes up there? Is what you're saying?
Or is that I think they're all traditional homes.
So
yes.
Is that someplace you go if you want to buy a traditional home?
I guess you would, but you know, it's just a place to see it for us. You know, for us tourists there. But yes, I mean, if you're wanting to buy,
it's like just a traditional village type area, and then you're going to go up here and you can go see. It's like for us, it would be like a trailer park where you can.
Yes, they're from Florida. Yeah,
this is where folks in manufactured homes live, and you just want to go and visit it.
I don't think it's exactly the same. I don't think the manufactured folks have been around as long as the traditional Korean homes, but maybe. But yeah, I mean that's exactly what it is. So it's kind of cool to see that, and that's one of those places where you see more of the traditional wares that people buy. I mean, there's all kinds of shops kind of at the bottom. Like there's there's some restaurants, but there's not really like, I guess there are some shops, but not as many when you get into the neighborhood.
Okay. Sure.
But
anywhere else.
There were so many people in their traditional wear, just taking pictures. I mean, like photo shoots. I mean, it was kind of cool. Of course, they were everywhere, so that wasn't that cool. But I mean, it was packed. I mean, Yeah, of all the things that we did, I would say that was the most packed area, which is kind of crazy to me. But it was pretty cool. So if you're there, you got to walk around that, and you got to see the traditional homes, and heck, rent some of that wear and wear it around,
Or
and
some of that clothing.
and hopefully get some good pictures out of it. So again, that's another thing I think you got to do. So what I will talk to you about now is what I think you've probably been waiting for me to talk about. Not food.
Nope, not food.
Yes.
You're going to talk about
The DMZ.
Yes, you are, because on TripAdvisor, I don't know if I mentioned this, but we now have a TripAdvisor.
Yeah, we do.
Page. On TripAdvisor, the number 1, number 2, and number 3 things to do, of the top things to do in Seoul, is a tour to the DMZ. Which is the demilitarized zone.
Yes,
for folks who don't know.
correct.
So it's right there on the border of North Korea. And I've never seen anything like that on TripAdvisor, where the top 3 things are the exact same thing. And it's like a long tour, a medium tour, and then a tour without shopping. And those are like, the top 3 things to do when you're in Seoul is to see that. So I'm guessing if there's that many tours, there must be a huge market, and there must be a ton of people that are wanting to go see that. So tell me about you going, and did you actually go into North Korea, and tell me if you were caned?
No, I was not caned. We did not
Dang it.
actually go into North Korea. I think that's I could be wrong. I don't think you can, so there's like a one that goes to like the border, right? So I guess you technically could maybe go there. You could say one of those where they're like, hey, here's the state line or the country line of this, and let me just put 1 foot over, another foot back, or whatever.
You would probably definitely get caned.
Yeah. So maybe you can do that there, but that's not what we did. We did one that went to like where they had North Korea had dug holes to try to get holes. They drove like caves underground, tunnels, yes, to try to get into South Korea. So that's the one that we did. And
you got to see some of these tunnels?
Yes. So we got to see one tunnel. Then we got to see what would be like another tunnel, but we didn't get to go in that. So we got to go in one tunnel, and, you had to wear a hard hat. So what's interesting about this is our tour guide, kind of leading up to it, was telling us kind of all about this. And, she said that 16,000, they made this so 16,000 North Korean troops could get into South Korea within 1 hour.
So they dug those tunnels to try and invade South Korea.
Yes.
Okay, I was thinking maybe these were like private citizens digging tunnels that the government doesn't know about to try and escape North Korea. But this is a government-sanctioned thing, and they're trying to get into South Korea in case they need to kick some butt.
Yes,
okay,
that's exactly right. And, North Korea says that they're digging for coal.
Yeah, we're just digging this long tunnel for coal.
Trying to get all the way over to basically south, to Seoul.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So how far is the DMZ from Seoul? I know Seoul's very close to the border to the northern border of South Korea.
So as the crow flies, maybe it's not as far. I didn't see it on a map, but it was about an hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half to the place that we went. So maybe there's a border closer, but from where we went to Seoul, it seemed like it was about an hour and a half. So again, that was pretty cool, but it was relatively reasonable. I mean, it was $50, and we got to go in an air conditioned, bus. Yeah, and they took us to a couple different places. But going back to the tunnel, I mean, they say 16,000 troops can get in there, and we have to wear a hard hat. And like I'm walking in there, I'm not a small guy. I mean, I guess I'm kind of wide, but I'm probably about 6'1", and I am literally, once it got to a point to where we were actually in the tunnel, I mean, I was basically ducking down about the entire time.
Well, they're shorter than you.
That is very true.
Yeah.
And then I'm rubbing shoulders pretty much with people because it's like it's the only way in, only way out. So I'm rubbing shoulders with people.
I might get claustrophobic in that.
It's
I mean, I
not
don't
that-
generally get claustrophobic, but if you're underground and there's a bunch of people there, that I might be feeling, okay, I don't know if I want to do this.
I don't think it's that bad, but I mean, yeah, like when there's a big guy coming through with like me, then we're definitely.
Oh, I see what you did there.
I didn't mean it that way. I didn't mean it that way.
There's a big guy like
I
me
didn't mean
'cause
it
I'm
that way.
massive. Yeah, I see what you did.
Yeah. But especially when I'm flexing, it's, but no, really, well,
Rip my shirt.
but really, I mean, you're having to turn sideways so you don't just ram each other, basically. So it's kind of cool, but I don't see
Did you both
how.
turn sideways and you rub bellies as you walk by? Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't mention the belly parts. Yeah, but it's cool, but man, I don't see how 16,000 people could go through there.
Well, they're not going through abreast. They're going to go through one or two at a time, or three or four at a time.
There's
right?
no way. I mean, this is a long tunnel. It's just crazy. But they must be pretty small. But what's interesting? Something else I learned is that North Korea. They told us on our tour, a male has to serve for, I think it was 10 years.
What?
In the military, and a female has to serve for 7 years.
What?
Yeah, isn't
That's
that crazy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to serve the 10 years?
Yes. Yeah, isn't
Oh
that
my
crazy?
gosh. Yeah, that is terrible.
Yeah, it's seven
I've
for a
been to-
female.
Yeah,
That's crazy.
Well, for either one,
Well,
it's
that's true.
ridiculous. And I mean, like in Israel, it's a year or two or something like
Yeah,
that. But
yeah.
that is a long time. No wonder their military is so big.
Yeah.
That makes you think less of Kim Jong Un, doesn't it? Because I know you love that guy.
Oh, God.
You love that guy, don't you? You
What
have the
is
same
wrong with
haircut.
you?
You have the same haircut. I just assumed that you
It's your
loved him.
problem. You can't say that kind of stuff.
Why
What is
not?
your problem?
Why not? I can tell people that all about you.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
Anyway, so what else about the DMZ that you want to talk about?
So, okay, so I have a note here that it's 35 miles from the border of North Korea.
Okay.
So, and what's great is they came and picked us up from our hotel. It was only about $50, so it's very reasonable. But they took us to another place, and I'll tell you, there were a couple places where they had big shout outs to the U.S. for helping them during the Korean War.
Sure.
So I wasn't fully prepared to play this, but I'm going to play this with our tour guide, kind of mentioning how we helped more or less, and then I'll kind of talk about it after.
Okay.
But this is kind of on the bus ride. This lady was so knowledgeable. She was awesome. But I'm gonna play this.
To Busan, it was all occupied by North Korea already. We are almost finished. We almost lost, right? But then again, thank God, we had a big support from 21 countries. They are the United Nations, right? Even
UN.
India gave us the big medical support, and US, UK, even Australia, Philippines, Thailand, or Luxembourg, 21 countries, right? Even Turkey. So,
Yeah, she said 21 countries, but really, one country did all the heavy lifting. I mean, come on.
Yeah. So
She didn't want to insult anybody else on there, but I'm sure that later on she pulled you guys aside and said, no, really it was the Americans. The Americans did all the heavy work.
yeah. So the reason I play that is because there were several kind of memorials and things for the U.S. at a lot of these places that we went. And, they were greatly appreciative of what we did. History buffs obviously know, what happened, but I think it's sometimes the newer generation doesn't really understand. But yeah, I think it's interesting because we really did. I mean, so that was kind of cool to see.
North Korea was all backed by the Soviets, and they had all that might. Somebody had to get in there and kind of help South Korea. And people complain about us jumping in to be the police of the world, but I'm thrilled that we did because it saved democracy in that part of the world, and it's a beautiful part of the world. According to you, I haven't seen it myself.
Yeah, it is. I think it's a cool place to go. I wouldn't say that it's beautiful, right? I mean, there are different parts. I was just in the city. Obviously
Sure.
a ton of structures and stuff.
Sure.
But everything's pretty well maintained. They take care of. There's not like a ton of trash and stuff. But yeah. So, kind of going back to the tour, I also wanted to mention that for the tunnel. I guess I didn't say this. Like the South Koreans made like 3 walls, like 3 barricades, so just in case North Korea tried to come back through that. So they sealed it off, and then they made like 3 walls, but you can see it from, like, it's basically like about as big as your head, like the hole is, so you can look in there and you can see those 3 walls. So it's kind of cool that they've kind of barricaded it off, and you can kind of see that, so that way if North Korea ever tries to do it again, and apparently there's...
It's like a peephole.
Yeah,
peephole
it's bigger than a peephole, but yes, it is.
They can look through and
That's
say,
what it acts as.
There's a bunch of soldiers right on the other side of this wall.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, again, that was cool. They had like a little tram that kind of took you down to, I guess, part of it, but it was broke, so it didn't work, so that kind of stunk. And then you couldn't take cameras down there.
Oh,
So
wow.
that kind of stunk.
Yeah, that's interesting.
I love
So
some
what
cameras.
what did they do with your phones? Did they just say put them away, or?
Yeah, so you had to go through security, and we just left them in the bus. We left everything in the bus. So, which kind of stinks for me because I love taking pictures, especially legal pictures.
Okay. Of course you do. Of course you do. Okay, so DMZ sounds like someplace that, and according to TripAdvisor also, it sounds like someplace that it's kind of a must-see. What else do you think you need to see, and or are we ready to move on and talk a little bit about food?
So almost. I want to tell you a little bit more about that DMZ tour. So we went to what was called the Dora Observatory, and you could use binoculars to see into North Korea. So we didn't go to the border.
Can't you do that anywhere along the border?
Well...
I mean,
yes,
if you got binoculars, can't you see?
You can, but like this is an actual city, and most everything else is kind of hidden. You may see. I mean, you can see land, but you're not going to see anything else. And what's interesting is our tour guide. There's obviously still some, even though they're trying to reconcile North and South Korea. I guess. There's
they're making an effort.
There's still some feelings
Of
you
course.
can tell.
Yeah, of course. They don't know when your hero's going to try to turn things around and invade.
So what's really cool is so she told us all.
I got you there.
Yeah,
I got you.
Yeah. What's really cool is she told us all kinds of stories about how people snuck over and
Sure.
we're doing all that, and she said that one person he was in bad shape, so they took him to the hospital, and the guy was like, I want to listen to like a pop radio station.
Okay.
Because he was worried that he was still in North Korea and that was all a sham that they were trying. So they wouldn't let him play pop radio, obviously.
Yeah.
And then how like there's TV shows that they can't watch
Sure.
over there, and I mean it's a lot of the stuff that you hear.
Oh, I believe that. Yeah.
They fully confirmed that. And, I think we're kind of a little naive, or I am a little naive over here because I'm so far away. And some of the stuff that I hear, I'm just like, maybe. I mean, really? Is that really true? But it sure sounds true based off of going over there and hearing what
Wow.
they had to say, too.
So there's oppression in the world,
Yeah.
especially in North Korea.
Yeah, for sure. And, I think I knew that anyway, but to the extent is just kind of crazy. And this kind of gives a little bit of an idea. So the city that we were able to see, it's like a facade city, she said. It looks like it could hold, 50,000 people.
Okay.
But she said only a few thousand people live there, and it's just like a facade that they basically just kind of have people stage there to make people think that everything's okay because that's where they can see in and they can see people.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah. So that is crazy. I mean, that just is.
It's
just
a fake
blew
city.
my mind. Yeah. But it's kind of cool because you can see in those, and we could see a few people.
Actors.
Yeah, basically. I mean, yeah. So it's really kind of cool. But I think anybody should try to do that. And then we went to like a train station that was basically solely shut down because it was supposed to be communal train from north to south and vice versa. And obviously, since they're not on good terms, then nobody's really using it. So it was a desolate train station, pretty much. I mean, there were a few people that used it.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. It was kind of cool. There's still a few people that used it.
Would they get on the train and just go right to the DMZ? I'm going to go this 12 feet.
But there's
I'm going to go 12
nothing else.
feet and get off.
Well, but I think it would go to like South Korea, but you can't get anywhere else. Like there's no other transportation anywhere. But that was kind of cool. And then, to do all this, they had to take your passports and they had to take your passport numbers. Basically they had to have all that. They had to submit your name and passport numbers down to the South Korean checkpoint, to make sure. And then they counted everybody that's on there.
Sure,
and then a guard came on. So it was pretty intense. I mean, and yeah, there wasn't much messing around really. Yeah. And if you're missing one person, they won't let you back in. If somebody gets lost on the tour because they're an idiot.
And then,
then
that person's getting a butt whipping.
Yeah. And basically everybody's paying for that. So it's kind of interesting. And then the one place that we didn't go was the joint security area that we kind of talked about, and that's where the actual border is. So if I go back, then I'll definitely go there. But we read that it had a dress code, so that's kind of interesting.
Dress code, like you as a visitor have to not be in shorts or something?
I don't remember specifically what it was, but yeah, they make you dress a certain way. Well, I do remember that she told us that they used pictures of tourists as propaganda. So if you have holes in your clothes or something like that, they'll tell their people, these are the poor people from another country or whatever.
Oh yeah, they don't want you there. They're gonna take a picture of this gorilla in a North Carolina shirt.
So true. But it was crazy. And then after the tour was over, they drop you off at a certain point. They didn't drop us off at our hotel, but they dropped you off at like 3 or 4 different points, and they dropped us off in what was essentially a political march, like a protest, because the South Korean president was impeached for doing, I don't know the word, but
whatever.
Yeah, like impeached for doing incorrect things for the government, and wow. So there were people still kind of advocating for her, and so it was interesting. It was kind of crazy to get dropped off kind of really close to that and have to be walking around. And it was peaceful. I mean, it was peaceful, but there were just tons of people for that kind of protest or rally or whatever.
All right. Well, tell me about some food.
Okay, yeah.
Because I'm going to tell you this: there are 110,000 restaurants in Seoul, according to TripAdvisor. And there are 10 million residents in Seoul. So they need that 110,000 restaurants. But 110,000 restaurants, that's crazy. That sounds like Knoxville, Tennessee.
That's so true.
They like to eat as much as we do.
That's so true. What's interesting telling you about food is they got fried chicken there. There's a lot of places that advertise fried chicken.
Oh, yeah.
So they like some fried chicken.
Well, who doesn't?
That is, I don't disagree with you. But the food was so good. I mean, if you have never had Korean barbecue, which you and I have,
it's several times.
You need to experience it. It's one of those that I think if you don't live in a big city, you probably haven't, because there's probably not a lot of Korean barbecue places.
And if you live in a small town, would you really want to eat the Korean barbecue?
That's true.
It's probably not going to be real.
That's true. But, man, it is so awesome. So it's got a grill right in front of you where you just kind of grill your own food. And what's great is they helped grill ours for a long time, and then they disappeared. And so we just kind of left it there and didn't think about it, and it started burning. Oh. Yeah. And then the lady came over.
And it's a tiny little grill, and it's right in the middle of the table.
It was really small. I mean, how big is it? I mean, it's
size
far smaller. Yeah, it's a little bigger than a plate probably. I mean, it's like, what, half the size of a manhole cover, maybe even smaller than that,
I think. Yeah.
Maybe a third of a manhole cover. So it's pretty tiny. Yeah. Gosh, yeah, you're right. It's probably not a whole lot bigger than a plate. But you've got to eat some Korean barbecue. If you take anything from this podcast, it's go find a Korean barbecue joint that's pretty good.
Yeah.
And
if you live in Knoxville, you're not going to find one.
Yeah. But it's, pork. It's got all kinds of stuff. It's got, like different kinds of meat and pork and even seafood, I guess. But we usually do the galbi It's kind of like a ribeye type thing, and it's kind of, there's ribs and pork belly and, again, chicken. I mean, all kinds of stuff that you can do. And my wife had never really had it before.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm surprised because you and I have done that 3 or 4 times.
Yeah. Well, I care more about you, obviously. She's going to love that. Love it.
My wife's never had Korean barbecue either, so that tells our listeners a little something about us.
Yes.
Sorry, guys.
Yeah. Well, it's just so fun and cute to just cook your own food together.
Oh, we're such a cute couple.
Yeah. But the sides, she loved. So the meats are obviously great.
Yeah.
She loved the sides, which we like the sides too. But it's got like
they have the sweetened soybeans. Those are really good.
Like soybean sprouts and bean sprouts, like eggplant, watercress, radish stuff, cabbage, and some of it's spicy, some of it's not. Kimchi. I mean, gosh, it's just
they can keep the kimchi.
You don't like the kimchi?
I don't like the kimchi. No,
it's not for everybody.
No. If you like something that smells spoiled, then you're going to like it.
It's fermented, right?
Yeah.
Isn't it? So,
fermented
it's like
cabbage or something.
It's like a pickled, any kind of vegetable.
It's an acquired taste that I have not acquired.
I think it's neat. I don't know. I think it's neat. And then bulgogi. That's like a marinated beef that you can get at Korean barbecue, and not just Korean barbecue, but it's usually pretty thinly sliced. It would almost what I would consider like a cheesesteak kind of a little bit, and you can just put it in different dishes.
Okay.
But the seafood was fresh there. We had all kinds of seafood.
They're on the peninsula.
And I don't have like specific places, but a pajeon it's a pancake, and it can be like all kinds of different stuff.
What do you mean all kinds of different stuff?
Like it can be.
Is it sweet?
It's a little sweet,
okay.
Yeah. And it just comes with tons of different things. I mean, I don't know.
Fruit?
It could. I mean, it's meat, fruit, rice. I mean, it's just whatever.
And how do you eat it? It's like a pancake. You eat it like with. Well, they would use chopsticks, but I would eat it with a fork. Or do you roll it up?
Chopstick things, by the way. My wife struggled.
Yeah, with
the Korean barbecue.
Yeah.
With the Korean barbecue, all the little sides that we talked about are really small.
Oh, yeah.
And she was struggling. She's going to love me talking about that.
Oh yeah, I would have to take a fork with me.
Yeah,
it's just or a spoon.
Yeah,
you can get a spoon, but
I'm not the greatest with it, but I could make it work. Yeah, and then. The other thing is, so they have like ramen, different types of ramen there.
Yeah, I do like that.
And it's really good, but it is miserable to try to eat with some chopsticks. I do not understand how they can do that.
They've been doing it all their lives.
That's true.
Yeah, if you listen, you're going to starve, or you're going to learn how to use these 2 sticks to get this food in your mouth. So either way,
that's so true. It's like Kung Fu Panda, right? And they do that on there. Similar.
Oh man, you're an idiot.
I am an idiot. But yeah, and then there's all kinds of different types of soup that are all good. It doesn't have to just be ramen, but yeah, I mean, it was such great food.
Yeah,
great food.
Good deal.
And I will point this out. We saw at McDonald's, they had a shrimp burger.
Of course you went to McDonald's.
Well, we went to McDonald's in the airport, so it wasn't,
okay.
or not in the train station on the way to the airport.
And you got a shrimp burger.
I know, I actually just got French fries. But but I was just saying they had a shrimp burger there.
Aren't they Korean fries?
Yes, that's true. Yeah, South Korean. Yeah, so I don't know. What else do you want to talk about with food? Gosh, I mean, it was just so good. I mean, I don't have specific places, but everything was so good.
I think we're pretty much done. I'm, again, not shocked at all that you said I will not be able to talk for very long.
I'm
and
sorry.
We've got almost an hour for this
totally
podcast.
did.
And that's great. I'm not complaining at all about how long the podcast is. I'm complaining about your ability
being a liar.
Yeah, your ability to tell how long you can talk about something. I don't believe you anytime you say I've only got 15 minutes. I don't believe you.
Well, stuff just comes back the more and more I think about it, and the more we talk about it.
Yeah. So I have nothing to add. If you're ready to wrap this thing up, we can give the summary and get on out of here. Let folks go.
Let's do it. Fun place. I think you should go there. And the DMZ is a eye-opening experience for me. To me, that kind of made the trip. I mean, I love the people. So it's a neat place. I think it's you got to put it on the list.
Okay, I will consider it put.
Okay.
All right, Ben, cue the music. I am going to just give our motto, and we're just going to get on out of here.
Get on out of here.
Yeah, get on out of here. Yeah, we're going to get out of South Korea right now. It's South Korea. We're going to get out of South Korea, y'all. It is better to go someplace you hate than to not go anyplace at all. So, get up and go.
Do it.
Go to South Korea. It sounds like the food's great.
Yes.
And it sounds like the DMV is... None of the DMV. The DMZ. The DMZ is kind of like the DMV. And you don't want to go there.
Oh, you're held hostage. Yeah.
So go. Get out of here. All right.
All right. Fun stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I cannot believe
that you went 55 minutes.
What is my problem?
No, there's nothing wrong. It's fine. It's a good podcast.
I would have...
Yeah.
Well, I would have lost money if you'd have said, I bet it's going to be over 40 minutes. I'd have lost money.
Yeah, well, you babbled about the DMZ. I almost said DMV.
Apparently, I didn't babble enough because you can't remember what it is.
I fell asleep. I went comatose during that time.
This is so
You
true.
were just going on and on and on about this. There's a tunnel and there's 16,000 in an hour.
I really do hate you sometimes.
And my chair. You like the squeaky?
Yeah, sure, your chair. Wink, wink.
Hey, at one point it was Ben's chair too. I heard Ben say.
Likely story.
All right, I'm out of here.
All right.